Alright, making a quick video on how to disassemble these Pentair Leisure Time Plus, Leisure Time Pro, whatever they are, pool pumps. This is a brand new one that's just arrived to replace the old one over there. We'll leave this one as is since it's brand new and under warranty. I'll pull apart this one. I've already pulled it apart to find the problem. And it's dead, it's going in the bin, so order someone for parts. So I'll pull that apart and it doesn't really matter. Rightio. Anyway, so one thing you'll note is that the new one comes with a stand. Our old pump didn't have a stand on it. It's missing, and that's probably part of the reason for the failure. Anyway, we'll get into it. You'll notice that Onga do provide a parts diagram for the pump. They don't provide anything for the motor. It's just, here's your motor. And I couldn't find anything inside the motor on who makes it. It seems to be a motor out of China. I doubt Onga have designed it, otherwise they would have put some branding on it. It's just an off-the-shelf little single-phase motor. Anyway, but we'll get to that. Okay, so first of all, when you're pulling your pump out, one of these band strap wrenches, it's very handy for undoing these variable angle nuts that let you misalign your plumbing, because it'll probably be pretty tight, but you can jam one of those on there and get it undone. So I'll take that off. Now, this pump actually died pretty prematurely. It's only 5 years old. Just chuck that down on the floor there. Manufacture date was 2020, it's now 2025. If you can, you probably can't make it out, but there it is, built, what was that, 9th of October 2020. So, well, September maybe, could be American dating, I doubt it though. Anyway, yeah, so it died pretty prematurely. Probably two reasons for that. One is it didn't have a stand, so salt water couldn't get out of this pump motor interface. It couldn't get out of there, so this drive end plate is totally corroded. It's just gone, disintegrated. And the other reason is probably ran it a bit dry a few times trying to pump water out. We get a lot of rain here and the seals have died. Anyway, getting into it. So you'll have a little O-ring here that goes with your pipe coupling. Same on this end, there'll be an O-ring over here. So if you're pulling it apart, trying to put it back together again, don't lose those. We're going to take off our lid here, let some air in. See, there's an O-ring in here. Notably, this is a self-lubricating O-ring, or it is from the factory, so you don't need to put grease on it. Previous owner put grease on it and stuffed the O-ring because it expanded and wouldn't seal anymore. So if your O-ring's dead, don't grease it, just put a new one on. They're pretty cheap. Make sure you get the right size. So that comes off, basket comes out, all easy, buddy, standard maintenance. Okay, now, what have we got? So we put it all apart. So we've got a drain here. If that's real tight on yours, which it might be, good tip, just use a shifter, shove it on there, and then you can get a bit more torque on it to crack it loose without damaging anything. So you can take out that drain. You'll drain all the water out of this inlet bowl. So you notice that actually the pump inlet here sits down below the pipe inlet. So ideally it's always got some water sitting in the pump for when it starts, which is how it's able to be self-priming. Okay, so we'll work on the pump first. We can undo the 4 bolts around there, which I've left undone for expediency. It's just 4 little hex bolts, pretty straightforward. Washers on them, and then the whole pump comes off. Yours will probably be a little bit more tricky than this. You might have to get something in and help lever it off, but that all just comes off. There's an O-ring that it seals on in there. And you can see this face, it's got a bevel in here that also seals against the O-ring. So ideally water shouldn't get into this part or into this face. This is all exposed to atmosphere, and only this part in here actually faces the water and in here. So you can see there's the this is the inlet side of the pump and pump rotor housing. This part does come out, so it's just pushed in there. So if you need to get that out, the way to do it, actually first thing I'll do is pull this clacker out. Pretty short screw in there, screwdriver. That's just a number 1 Phillips. Get that out. This clacker is optional. You may or may not have one installed. They come with the pump. They're there in case you've got a high head application, like if you're pumping the solar hot water, so you've got a lot of water pressure up on the outlet of the pump, so that when the pump shuts off, it doesn't all just slam backwards through the rotor and break things. So you can stick your fingers in there and just pick it up. It'll just pull out. Bit of a push. It's got a couple of little pins on it. There you go. And that lines up in there. Where are we? In there, there's 2 holes and just a blind threaded hole. Alright. And so you can see the stator in there. But the easiest way to get that out actually is if you take this coarse screen out. Now, don't have a light. Just shine this light in here. One end. You can see it's actually got a clip on the top, and it's move that back a bit so it's a bit more exposed properly. There's a clip on top. You can just shove a screwdriver or something in there to lever that out. Something like this. I won't be able to do it holding the torch for you, but we'll do what we can here. So if I get that on there, so you can kind of get that out a bit, and then you can see I've managed to lever it out. It's a bit bent, that's fine. It's plastic, it'll spring back. And then you can just pull it up, and that comes out. Easy peasy. There we are. So now you can see, and if you need to get that stator out for some reason, we'll do that first. It does have a different name. I found the best way to do it. Take a screwdriver, you know, preferably one that's a bit blunt on the end. You can shove that in, and it'll line all the way up in, if you get a longer one, and be able to tap on the back, and then you can tap that to push the, if you stick another screwdriver in there or a hammer or something, line them up. Preferably if you've got a long screwdriver, like I said, you can tap that out, but this one's in fairly loosely, so I can just do it like that. So that's your inlet stator. And if we have a look here, turn over now so you can see, there's just some, these are not guide vanes, these are just to stop torque that's on the water plate being transferred from the drive pump, from all the water spinning around on that plate, to stop it ripping this out. If they were straight, they wouldn't hold on. Anyway, so that's your inlet, there's your outlet. Pretty simple pump. Got the stator, it goes up this way, so you can see that there's a little divider plate there. But this is not really part of the pump on the outside. The main part's this inlet piece. Its main job is just to make a nice close fit on the rotor in here. Now this rotor, there's a rotor here and a diffuser. So come over and look at our parts diagram. You can see here there's a stator we just pulled out. Now we've got a rotor and a diffuser. The rotor has a thread, brass thread in the end of it, and it just threads onto the end of the shaft. So to undo that, you will need to, if your bearings are still good and it's not fucked like this one was, you will need to be able to hold the shaft and prevent it from turning to be able to take that rotor off. There's your pump stand. So you can see we've taken that off. There's a pump housing. That's the stator we just took out. Rightio. So pump rotor. This one, the shaft's a bit bent, so I can just, and it's on there loosely because I've already pulled it apart, so I can just do it by hand. But you're probably going to have to take this fan cover off. Now, mine's already been pulled off, So I left it like this so it's quick and easy. You can see there's a ridge in there, and all around on this motor there's a little ridge along all the fins. This is a bit of a rubbery plastic, so it just pushes on and clips onto those into that groove in the fins. So you kind of just got to bash it and work it off. Now on the back end, one thing you want to be careful of, once you've got this apart this far, now you want to be careful of the shaft. You don't have anything protecting the shaft from being bent anymore, and it's actually pretty thin for the weight of the motor. So if you're too rough with it, leaning it on the end of the shaft and stuff, you can bend the shaft. And then if your pump wasn't fucked, then it is now. Rightio. But anyway, I'm just going to stick something in here. There we go. And we can leave this off. I'm not sure if there's actually supposed to be something in the end here. Mine's pretty heavily corroded. I can see there's a groove in the end of the shaft. I don't know if there's a wedge or like a cotter pin or something supposed to be in there, but whatever is or was in there on mine's totally gone. Rightio. So you can just leave that bit up, get in there, oops, work it around, try and work it from both sides. If you're lucky, you'll be able to just hold this fan. It's just a push on, by the way, there's nothing more holding it together. There you go, she's coming off. Slowly sliding. There we are. It's got it. There you go. Fan off the back of your totally enclosed fan cooled electric motor. Alright, so once you've got that done, hopefully either you can hold it with the fan. The fan's enough for you to be able to do it, but anyway, if not, carry on. Now you can unscrew the rotor from the pump. If not, you might need to get into the motor to get a better grip on the shaft, and I'll show you how to do that. Anyway, so that unscrews off there. That's it, there's not much to it, just a little brass thread. There's an O-ring on the shaft here. And then you've got a sprung loaded ceramic bearing seal thing and a plastic collar on the shaft. So next thing you need to do is, if I pull my chair over here, sit down, get a closer view for you. Sorry. Yeah, so you can see there's a little O-ring on shaft here. Just there. If I can get it in, sorry. I've got a camera in the way of what I'm doing. Like I said, this pump's stuffed, so it can all just go in the bin. Should really use a better tool than a screwdriver to get the O-ring off, especially if you have any hopes of reusing it. But it does come as part of a seal kit, so if you order the seal kit, then you'll be right. Just have a bit of a look at it. That's one thing you can do, push down on this, make sure that's properly. Also this part of the housing will just pull off. It does have a one-way up. Doesn't have an arrow on this part, sorry, but it does have a keyed alignment just there. You see at the top there's a fatter lug, and around here on the top side of the motor over here is where that engages, so you can only put it on one way. So pop that off, will make life a bit easier. Just trying to do this, I can't see what I'm doing. With the camera in the way, I'm doing this blind. Sorry, poor filming. Yeah, got it out. Alright, Okay. Going out here. Alright, got it. There she is. There's the O-ring, just came off the shaft. Okay, next part. Oh, by the way, here's that. I'll pull this off now too. There's a large O-ring here that runs all the way around the edge. Just get in there. It's pretty, because it's nice and big, it's fairly easy to pop out. If you can get in there. Much easier to do when you can see what you're doing. Anyway, so there's that O-ring. I believe that comes as part of the kit as well. Alright. So, now you've got this spring-loaded ceramic bearing thing. You can pull on that. And in theory it'll just come off like that. Yours is probably going to be pretty stuck on the shaft. I've already had this apart. There's kind of three pieces to this bearing. There's a little plate on the end here. There's a spring, and then there's this one single piece with like a steel ring that's got your ceramic bush in there, and the rubber seal, shaft seal in there. Anyway, this comes as part of the replacement seal kit, so you don't need to save that. Okay, now you can see the plastic shaft sleeve that's bouncing around in there. Mine's all loose and floppy because the things that used to hold it are totally gone. So next we've got, there's a rubber seal and a little ceramic thrust bearing in there that the this bushing thing runs against. At least I believe that's where it goes. To be honest, I knew the pump was fucked, so I wasn't paying too much attention. I may have parts in the wrong order. Anyway, so we got that now. You can either leave this here, but you can leave this here or not. Either way, your next thing to do is either pull out this bushing or knock out this stator plate. So, in my case, you can see it was pretty badly rusted all around here, which meant that this big piece of plastic, coming back to the diagram there, you can see part number 4, which is a bit out of focus, was totally jammed in there because the cast iron had expanded and just locked it into place. But nonetheless, under here is where the drain hole is. Now this drain hole, I did just lose something there, I think it was a bolt, goes straight through to the back of your stator plate here, and you can just, don't use a sharp screwdriver like this, you'll fuck your plate. But anyway, in my case it doesn't matter. That'll just come off. In theory, you may need to get this little rubber seal and bushing out first. I'm not sure, I think this comes as part of the replacement kit as well. So I'm just going to push that out so you can have a look at it. So there's a little rubber seal with this ceramic thrust bearing in it. Like I said, might have assembled this in the wrong order. I wasn't paying too much attention by this point because I realised it was fucked. Okay. Now you've got your plastic sleeve on here, and this is, you can see what's happened to it. There should be another ring in here like this and a little drain cap if you look closely at that picture there. Sorry, I might have to change camera. Can't do it with the gloves on. But anyway, if you have a look at the PDF of this, you can zoom in on that and you'll see what this is supposed to look like. It's just totally fucked. Water's gotten into here where it shouldn't, and the pump was sitting on the ground without a stand, so water couldn't drain out the hole, and it's a saltwater pool. It's just rusted to shit. Anyway, so then you've got a little plastic sleeve there. You can see there's a wear, I'm not sure if that's an O-ring or just a wear groove. There is a little Belleville spring washer in there. I can't remember exactly where that was, but obviously it's floating around. Anyway, so that's the pump fully disassembled. Now you've just got your bare motor. You can see that's where the motor would mount. Interestingly, only this drive end plate is cast iron. The fan end and the motor housing themselves are aluminium. Alright, so I'll just clear some space on this table. There's a fan. Got all the bits. Now, in this motor, there's one bearing in each end. The bearing in this end is just pushed in. The bearing in this end is retained by a little plate that's held in with a couple of machine screws. And then there's a circlip behind that, and then your rotor. And for reference, so once you get to this point, at least in Australia, you need to be a licensed electrician to go any further, and you need to have the license for teardown, because inside this black housing here, this is the most dangerous thing. There's a very large capacitor, that's your motor capacitor, which allows your motor to start. Anyway, that could still be charged if you're, especially if your motor's only been recently unplugged, could still be charged with hundreds of volts and give you a nasty shock. Don't know, if you're real unlucky, it could kill you. So, yeah. At this point, any repairs after this are licensed electrician only, really. But since it's going in the bin, I can show you what's going on here. Okay, so I've got my little trusty little socket set here. It's been great, this one. So you got your 4 screws holding the thing together. Just undo those, and actually if you don't undo them all the way, here's a bit of a tip. You can use them to punch the drive and plate off. Which will take the shaft with it, by the way, in this setup, if you try to do that. And last screw. Alright, so I've loosened all these off now. Don't need that ratchet anymore. That off. Okay. So, imagine at the factory, this plate actually goes on last. They probably mount the drive end first. Because this bearing in this end is retained and it's mounted on the shaft, there's a good chance that if you knock this plate off, you're going to take the whole rotor and shaft assembly with it, which is not really that big a deal, but just a heads up. There is a circlip on the shaft that'll push against the bearing, so that if you do tap on the end of this, tap on the end of the shaft to knock things out, it'll take the bearing and this face all with it, along with the rotor. Anyway, so at this point, you can, if you like, give a little tap on the screws. Just until they're sitting back flush, because if you haven't taken them too far off, don't thread them all the way out, or you stuff the end of your threads, but if you haven't taken them too far off, then you can use that to just get yourself a bit of a gap down there and start getting things loose. Sorry, difficult to film from here. There's one. Two. Just notice I got little spring washers. Honestly, I don't know why anyone puts spring washers on. They're basically useless in a vibration situation, but you need those Nord lock washers. If you ever need to design something with vibration, they make it energetically favourable for the bolt to stay tight. And they work pretty well. Mind you, I haven't tried undoing a real rusted one, so maybe a fitter will correct me on that. Maybe they're total shithouse once you actually have to do anything with it other than put it together. Alright. As you can see, I've managed to crack a small gap in there. I'm going to take my trusty dead blow hammer, which is a nice rubberised full lead shot. So when you hit things, it's a nice solid tap instead of a hard bounce. Basically, same impulse, but a longer time collision, so not as high a force, so you're less likely to crack stuff, which is quite likely with a cast housing like this. Anyway. So, I'm going to go ahead and using my trusty highly stuffed spinner and one of these bolts, just going to tap around. Just get a crack in that there. You know, be careful doing this so you'll bend your bolts. Like I said, this one's just going in the bin, so I can do some dodgy shit. Yeah, make your way around. So you've got a bit of a gap in there that you can shove something in and apologies for the filming quality. Yeah, she's opening up. Let's turn her over. Ugh. Again, you notice that I'm like fucking out the holes and shit, but it honestly doesn't matter because the whole thing's going in the bin. Alright, and now I'm going to go ahead and use a real hammer. Trying to do this left-handed and blind. I should probably won't come off because there's a bearing pushed in there that's attached to the shaft. Just shove this in there and do the dodgy. Now if I can, let's hoping haven't come apart once, it'll be a bit easier than this. Anyway, we'll just do the dodgy and do this. I'll just drop it on the shaft and knock the other end off. There we go. Alright, here it is, bearing and all. Bearing sticks on the shaft a lot better than it sticks in the housing, evidently. Alright, so there's your rotor. You can see in there, there's your bearing retainer plate for the drive end, splined end for your fan, your squirrel cage, and bearing out this side. It's pretty crunchy. Anyway, there's a lot of rust and stuff has gotten into the bearing. For your reference though, we come in here and have a nice close look. I'll try again with it. Set it down there. Change cameras. Might be able to read it. She's 981, same bearings each end. And if I can get it in the light. Here we are. I'll read that to you. You won't be able to read that on the camera. It is a 60/20 2DU. Sorry, a 6202 DU. 6202 DU. And they're nice NSK bearings as well. 6202 DU, NSK bearing. Alright. Now, for this side, this whole plate's going to have to come off really. There's no way you can get to those screws without knocking the shaft out. So, my shaft is bent. I'm not sure if I did it pulling it apart because it was fucked, but here's a dodgy way to do it. Liable to bend your shaft. Don't do this. Don't do as Donnie Don't does. Alright. Here we are. So you can see there's a bearing surface. There's a little circlip there. Here we are. Back on this end, there's no circlip on that end for that bearing. There's your squirrel cage, O-ring groove, threads on the end. That's it, that's your rotor. Here's the back side of the drive end plate, so that goes that way. There's your drain hole at the bottom, it's supposed to drain out. That comes through to this side, you can see. And there's supposed to be, so just there's supposed to be a little bridge that stops water splashing straight up. So it's supposed to drip out of here, drip through this groove, not drip onto that and not be able to come back in, drain down there and drain out. You can see it's just totally fucked. Anyway, these are actually number 2 Phillips. So I didn't do them up super tight, so maybe I did. Get a real screwdriver if I can find it. Anyway, let's see if I can do it with a number 1, or if I just strip things. I think it's just going to strip. Just pause here for a second, if I can. Alright, here we are, back with the actual screwdriver. Shove that in there. Alright. Okay, and there's little spring washers on these as well. Just little machine screws. I think they're probably M5, maybe M4, don't know. There you go. There's a little bearing retaining plate. Pretty simple. There's the nice crunchy bearing. Ideally, if you were to knock this out, well, if you're knocking it out, the bearing's going in the bin anyway, but when you knock one back in, only hit on the outside ring, don't hit on the inside face, otherwise you're pushing through the inside face, through the roller elements into the outer bearing, and you'll fuck your bearing while you're installing it. So anyway, come around here, shove that on there. Just going to do the dodgy here, give her a little whack. Actually, you know, I'll probably work better. I can put a socket on this. That'll fit in there, which I think it will. There you go. I'll do it on the ground. Plastic table's pretty shit. Get a smaller socket. There's one here I used. Yeah. Use this plate as its own hammer. Again, just give you a better view. There we are. And so you can see what I'm doing, just holding that there. She's coming out. It's a little bit awkward. Trying to do it where you can see, and lost my driver there. It's alright, that'll probably still work, to be honest. Just balance that. Is it? No, it won't reach anymore. Sorry, I'll do it like this. Old safety sandals here. She's coming out. Not quite. It's getting out of there. Just dodgy work here. There we go. It's nearly up. Got it. Alright. So, as you can see, best I can tell, it's the same bearing as on the sorry. Turn around, get rid of that. Oh, come on. Work with gloves on. There we go. 6202 DU, same bearing. Oh, this one's totally fucked. Rusted up. So the bearing at the back is actually still all good. Anyway, so that's the drive end plate, drive end bearing, rotor. Now, onto this motor itself. Yeah. Here's our motor. We can probably... what can we do here? I can actually do the dodgy for you because this is going in the bin. I'll drop this shaft in and use it to knock the back plate out. Once again, don't do it like this. Ding. There we are. You can come out the back. And then oops daisies. Alright. So there we are. There's our fan end housing. See, very lightweight. It's aluminium issues. Not much to it. There's where your bearing sits. That's it. There's nothing holding that end on. Okay, here we are, motor. So, single phase motor. It's got mounts there. Nice winding. Great. Iron cores. Really, if you get this far, that you know you're not going to fix this. If you ever get this far, it's fucked. Right. Anyway, so I won't bother going into any of that. Just here is, how tight did I do these? Tight enough. Come back down. Just undo these hex heads, sockets. Curious, what is it? It's a 4mm Allen key. These are all locked on with some blue Loctite, by the way, so they're a bit tricky to loosen off at first. One in particular was quite locked up, but they all came out fine. Just an FYI. If you ever do need to get in here. Off you. There we go. Yeah. These are the bolts, they're all the same. It'll, don't know, focus on that. There you go. Just basic socket heads. Pretty long thread though. Right, there we are. It's all off. Peel the sticker off if you need to. I don't think it really gets in the way that much. I'd recommend at this point, you do have some loose, slight bit of wiring, but if you undo your gland nut here, you can get yourself a little bit more space. Now, turn this around this way so you can see. So you can see there's your capacitor, and these terminals, if it's been plugged in, will be live. So if you've got what's the name, electrically rated screwdriver, that'd probably be good. Short those out. This is obviously totally discharged, so I'm not worried. You can pull, you can't pull that out till you disconnect these. You just grab those, wiggle those off. Okay. And we can pull this capacitor out for you so you can see what kind of cap is in it. So just wiggle this rubber gland out a bit. There we go. Then we should be able to push that back through and give ourselves some more wiggle room here. It's just pretty tight in there. Okay. Slide that cap out. There we are. Got it. So here you go. This is the motor auxiliary coil cap CBB65A from Huizhong. 450 volt, which is what is it? 20 microfarad plus or minus 5%. Just an electrolytic cap. There you go. There's all the details of it. So if you need one of those, there's your info there. There's also circuit 400S wiring diagram in the lid there. Get the torch on it. There she is. There you go. Upside down. Hang on, let me turn you around. There you go, you can read that pretty well. So you got surface sleeve, cap in, motor, brown, blue, black. Just hold on that, but it's actually also, that diagram is in fact in the manual in the back here. There it is. Same circuit diagram. So you can see there's 3 wires going to the motor. You've got your main, your auxiliary, which runs through the cap. And FYI, just if you don't know, the whole point of the cap here is in a single phase motor is that if you've only got 2 poles and they're flipping 180 degrees out, you can get your motor locked and it'll never start. So having this capacitor here, capacitors fight voltage change. So as your AC voltage is going up and down from your line in, the voltage on the other side of the capacitor will lag behind a little bit. So it will create a voltage difference. So effectively you get like 2 phases out of your single phase input to drive your motor. So they're at about 90 degrees and you'll always have torque. So your motor will always start no matter what position it's in, and everything's golden. It also, because it creates lets your motor phases be energized at 90 degrees, creates a lot more torque out of the motor. Some motors will have a centrifugal cutout, which will cut out this auxiliary circuit. Once the motor's up to speed, this motor doesn't seem to have one. It just goes all the time. Anyway, and there's your thermal overload. So yeah, and you've got a little terminal block in there. There's your earth. Like I said, there's no identifiable marks on this. Aluminium housing, if you get this far. Yeah, if you ever actually get this far that you've got a problem in your winding, then I don't know, your motor's probably fucked, to be honest. Anyway, so that's it. There she is. All the parts of a Leisure Time pool pump. You can see that they have actually had some slight moulding changes between the old pump. You can see the new one's got a Onga branding on it. All torn down. There's your basket. O-ring, lid. She lives there. Fan casing lives on this end. Oh, one thing to note is that the there's arrows on this housing. If you ever do pull it down this far and you get confused, arrows point towards the drive end. There's also some more around here, on here. Always points towards the drive end. So yeah, that's your, there's your fan. Chuck that down there. And the shaft with bearing. Great. This little circlet. There's all your pump parts. Goes in there. Got a rotor and a diffuser. And in case you didn't know how this rotor works, so water enters in through here, spins around really fast. It flings, probably spins this way actually, flings the water out this way, and this little diffuser sits tied up in this face here. So I can kind of assemble it for you. Pump, this one, she goes on this way. And there's an up arrow here, which goes this way. Yeah. So that, sorry. Yeah, that's right. So that goes like that. So water enters in there. Most of the water should go in here. You'll have some water floating around out here, but shouldn't be much. Water enters in through this center part, comes into the rotor. Rotor spins real fast, flings it out here, and the speed of the water gives it its pressure if the water's pretty stagnant out the top. Otherwise, it'll give you more flow. It's kind of a diffusing area. Oops, there goes the rotor. That's all sealed off. This is a diffusing area, and to slow the water down, stop it from spilling so much, and just let it go out the top. Yeah. Anyway, so pretty much that's it. Yours won't be so fucked, hopefully, and you'll be able to replace those bearings if you need to. There's a little rubber seal, and that came out of here. There's the bearing out of there. It's totally stuffed. Little wave washer. Pretty sure this came from here, has something to do with this. I just can't remember exactly how it went, and the thing's too rusted to figure out what it sat on. Yeah, anyhow, motor start cap, and some more bits, and the clacker goes in the pump outlet. There we are. That's more or less it. That's the whole thing. So if you ever need to tear one down, at least now you kind of understand how it goes, and I don't know, hopefully that gets you out of trouble, or lets you order that cap or those bearings if yours die prematurely. And yeah, if you ever run your pump dry, maybe tear it down and replace the seals, just as a preventative maintenance step, because you can rust out pretty badly. Anyway, no worries.